It's your Catholic Drive Time
with Joe McClane and EmilyiAlcaraz.
Joining us right now by phone is Susan Muskett, president of ProFamilyWomanorg, and she's putting out a call for Catholic women nationwide to pray and sacrifice due to these new initiatives out of the Biden administration. She joins us by phone. Good morning to you, Susan Muskett.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Emily.
Praise God. We're grateful for your time. Real quick, can you give us the background on ProFamilyWomanorg? What is this organization? When did you start it, and what is your mission?
It's a new organization that was started last year, and our mission is to promote the values of faithful Catholic women in proclaiming the truth about human life and family.
And I see this press release that you put out on January 21. It says the Biden administration is quickly taking action to promote gender identity ideology in America and intends to reverse a key pro-life policy that President Trump enacted yesterday. President Biden issued an executive order regarding gender identity and sexual orientation that states that it is policy that children should be able to learn without worrying about whether they will be denied access to the restroom, the locker room, or school sports, and instructing government agencies to take action to fully implement this policy. Says the new Biden White House website now uses gender-inclusive prefixes and pronouns. It says, moreover, in the coming days, President Biden intends to rescind the pro-life Mexico City policy that prohibits federal funding of organizations that perform or promote abortions overseas. In fact, that did happen yesterday. We'll link to it, by the way, this news release from ProFamilyWomanorg. We'll also link to the website as well on Facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time. But Susan, I'd like to address both of these issues. Why are these two issues, the gender identity issues and the Mexico City policy, very concerning to ProFamilyWomen.org?
Because both issues go to a core truth of the Catholic faith, which is that God created each of us as male or female with a nature that's directed towards marriage and the birth of children, that life is sacred. So both of these issues are related because they both go to basically God's design for creation.
You know, as Catholics, we should be very concerned, right, about these issues. And this has been one of the divisive topics within the Catholic community. 50% voted for President Biden, 50% voted the other way. And there seems to be a sense in our church that these issues, the gender issues or the marriage issues or the life issues, or even some of the other non-negotiable issues are negotiable, like we can pick and choose. What say you, Susan Muskett, about that divisive issue among Catholics these days?
You know, I think if they even just look back to the teachings of Pope Benedict, he said these issues are non-negotiable in terms of the Catholic faith. He was very clear about that. And they really do go to, you know, especially like take the gender identity ideology that's being promoted in our schools. That ideology goes to the basic issue that by affirming a child's new gender identity, you're implicitly conveying to that child that God made a mistake when he created that child's sex. And that is not true. It's part of God's design for creation.
One of the things that I was concerned about under President Trump was his sort of duplicitous nature on the gender issues. On one hand, he blocked the transgender members of our American military serving, and now that's been reversed. And there's a story about an Army chaplain who's about to be investigated about his negative comments on that. We'll probably talk about that later in the program. But also, like, he didn't necessarily defend traditional marriage between a man and a woman. In fact, there were many in the LGBTQ communities that supported President Trump because they felt he was very supportive of them. I'm thinking of Dave Rubin, for instance, or the former National Security Agency director, and others. So it seems like there's a bit of a confusion there from the Trump administration, and yet President Biden has made it very clear where he stands. What should we as Catholics think and do about this, Susan Muskett?
Well, I think definitely it was very disappointing about President Trump in terms of the LGBTQ issues. But I can say I've lobbied on the pro-life issues at the national level for most of my career. And he was undoubtedly the most pro-life president we have ever had in our nation. He was very bold in the actions he took to promote life, both here in our country and nation and worldwide. So, but in terms of what we can do as Catholics nationwide, I think there's three main things. Of course, we have to go back to the time-tested tools of the saints in our church, which are prayer, going to Eucharistic adoration, going to Mass. I mean, the Rosary. Our Lady called herself Our Lady of the Rosary at Fatima, and that's the standard under which our organization is working, Our Lady of the Rosary. But I think also, as Catholics, I think we have to speak the truth and treat this Biden presidency as an opportunity to educate our fellow Catholic women, men, and children in our own circles about the truth. You know, I know how people are feeling. You see darkness all around you. I know that. But I think that one thing that has encouraged me a great deal and given me great hope is something that the late Cardinal Gagnon of Canada said back in the 1980s. He said he had a conversation with Pope St. John Paul II, and the Cardinal said that error makes its way because truth is not taught. And he said the Pope said that when we stand up for the truth, there's a grace that accompanies that truth. And even if the person at the time rejects what we are saying, he says later that that grace that you've conveyed to that person will be imparted, and that person will open their heart and their mind to that truth at a later date because you've imparted that grace. And so that gives me a lot of encouragement. And I guess I would tell our listeners, whether they're mothers, fathers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, speak that truth to your children. You know, they may not accept it at the time, but you want to impart that grace to them that Pope John Paul II spoke of. And lastly, of course, I think we need to take action. You know, what was it St. Ignatius of Loyola said? Pray as if everything depended on God and work as if everything depended on you.
Amen.
All right, hold that thought. We're talking with Susan Muskett. She is before we went to break, you had some questions for Susan as well.
Yeah, I wanted to point out something that I think I've noticed over the past several years. I think under the Trump administration, pro-lifers have grown a little bit comfortable because of all the pro-life victories that he was making. I know even personally, I'll admit that I stopped praying outside of abortion mills as frequently as I did before the Trump presidency. So Susan, do you see the pro-life movement in a sense having to get back into the trenches, getting back to our grassroots movement of, you know, being in-person prayer and not so much watching the presidency take action?
Yeah, I think you're right, Emily. I mean, we can't just sit back and be, you know, throwing up our hands in disappointment and say, no, we have to be persistent. And I know our listeners, a lot of them are persistent, but we have to double down. We have to be outside of the abortion clinics. We have to be writing and emailing our legislators. We have to be taking action and then doubling down on the time-tested tools of the saints. You know, prayer is key, and we really just have to storm heaven at this time.
And I just watched an interview with Zachary King, who is an ex-Satanist who speaks now about how abortions were used in satanic rituals and such. And on your website for Pro Family Women, you talk about Our Lady of Fatima and the Sister Lucia saying that the last battle Our Lady told us would be over the family. So can you talk about how the spiritual warfare that we're going to be engaging and how we can arm ourselves?
Yes, that is a very key point. I don't know if a lot of your listeners are aware of this, but in the 1980s, Sister Lucia, who was one of the 3 children at Fatima, she wrote a letter in which she said, I'm going to quote, "A time will come when the decisive battle between the kingdom of Christ and Satan will be over marriage and the family." And she wrote this to a cardinal in Italy. And then he later said in 2017, he said, "What Sister Lucia wrote to me is being fulfilled today," meaning we are in the midst of the decisive battle over marriage and the family. So each of us here today, God placed us at this point in history for this decisive battle. So we all have really got to get busy and really pray, take action, speak the truth to our loved ones. I mean, God is calling us. We're here at this time in our country's history. Everyone around the world looks to America, let's face it, for good or bad. They look to see what takes place in our country. So we have an added burden as pro-lifers here in America to really double down and try to, especially at the state level these days, promote pro-life policies.
You know, back when President Obama was first elected, there was a sense of, I couldn't believe that we've elected somebody so against life at conception, somebody so pro-choice, somebody so pro-abortion. It was shocking to many Catholics, and I launched a website at the time called convertobama.com, where I recruited 500 people. I asked people to join me in prayer and fasting, and I think we prayed all during the holy season of Lent that year. This was 2008? And we prayed and fasted for every single day of the calendar during Holy Lent, and then afterwards we sent a note to the president saying we prayed and fasted for him personally, out of a sense of charity for him, but a desire for the Lord to give him prevenient graces to help bring about his conversion of heart, mind, and soul, especially on the life issues, if nothing else. And it seems like you're doing something similar here with these new executive orders, this new policy, this new administration. What do you hope to achieve by asking women in particular to pray and fast?
I think the very thing that you're saying, I think, I look to Our Lady. And what did Our Lady say when she appeared at Fatima and in many of her apparitions? She says, pray the rosary. So if Our Lady is telling us to do this, okay, I say she's the expert. She didn't come to Fatima and say, do this or do that. She said, pray the rosary. She said, pray for others she said people are going into hell because there's no one to pray for them. Mm-hmm. So I think you were right on target when you said we need to pray and fast for President Obama, and we have to double down now praying for not only President Biden, but for all of our legislators at the federal and the state level, because they all need our prayers.
How many do you hope to recruit, and what's the mechanism by which they can actually join you in this prayer and this fasting?
Well, we are leaving it to them because, all the different parishes have so many opportunities, whether it's Eucharistic adoration, daily praying of the rosary, but we're just urging Catholic women to do this, to really put President Biden in their prayers, and a lot of the legislators at the federal level, really, that's going to be key to turning our country back around. And we have a lot of opportunities at the state level. You mentioned them earlier in your broadcast. So I think people can continue to work at the state level, too, to achieve some pro-life goals.
That's an excellent point. I think in the conversation over the last few months, everything is so focused federally and nationally, and yet there's so much more work to be done, and maybe where the rubber meets the road, where the boots hit the ground, is at the local level. And maybe that's been a point that's been missed as of late. So maybe you can give us some more ideas. How can we do things at a local level that have a greater impact on our communities?
Well, I think, you need to key into some of the state organizations, the pro-life organizations in your states, to stay abreast of what's taking place. And then you need to, take action. You need to follow them if they are going down to their state capitals to have some rallies. You need to go to show the force of the pro-life movement in your state. You need to contact your legislators by email or phone, and just unfortunately, a lot of things are virtual these days. But if we open up and they have in-person town hall meetings, you need to go. If they're a pro-life legislator, you need to bolster them and tell them thank you. If they're not pro-life, you need to speak up and let them know that there are pro-lifers in their district that are not happy.
We're talking with Susan Muskett. She is the founder of ProFamilyWoman.org, ProFamilyWoman.org. Beyond this initiative, Susan, what do you hope to accomplish through your organization?
What we are trying to do is we want to speak the truth to a hurting world. We want to proclaim the real truth of the Catholic Church, because our church really holds the key in terms of human sexuality. And that's what we want to do. We want to promote these truths about whether it's about the family, about marriage, about parental rights. The fact that parents are the key individuals that are responsible for the upbringing of their children. So we want to do this both on a national scale and on a local scale. And we want to do it from the perspective of the values of faithful Catholic women.
Do you intend to have resources available for these women? Because I think one of the things that we could all probably use a lot of is just more information about education, and in particular, educating us as adults as to the actual teaching of the church and what it means on the life issues, on the family issues, on the sex issues,
right?
We
were just talking about this earlier. So many Catholics, the reason that they're not motivated in fighting this as hard as they can is because they're not well catechized and they don't fully understand the treasure that we have in the truth of the Catholic faith. So, Susan, what can we do about catechizing the Catholic lady?
Well, I think you're right. I think that is a big problem, and I commend Guadalupe Radio for that, because just by having this radio station and network, you are educating your listeners on the Catholic truth. And we need to do more of that. I agree. We're going to continue to work to get resources on our website and channel people to other resources that will help them. But I think we need to use every opportunity we have, whether it's radio, like you all are doing, whether it's social media, which a lot of the young people are following. We need to just constantly, again, it's what Pope John Paul II told that cardinal. He said, speak the truth, repeat the truth. He told that cardinal, don't spend your time, trying to refute all these errors and lies that are out there. He said they're endless. He said, focus on speaking the truth over and over again. And I think that's the key. Eventually, people will hear it. And if they hear it enough, it'll sink in.
All right. Praise be to Jesus Christ in all things. We've been speaking with Susan Muskett. She's the president of Pro-Family Woman, ProFamilyWoman.org. We've posted a link to the news release and her website over at Facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time, as well as on GRN and on the Station of the Cross site as well. Susan, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Emily.
God bless you. God love you. Have a great day, Susan. And that's going to do it for the first hour of Catholic Drive Time. Great show. We're going to post the individual components of the show in video form over on our YouTube side, as well as on Rumble. And Rumble is a great place if you could start looking at the videos there, because it's going to help us overcome some of these shortfalls we're seeing in the algorithm, and it's on YouTube especially. It's been rough. Facebook has also been kind of rough, but we're starting to see a little bit of growth happening on the Facebook side again, and I'm excited about that. So here's one of the things you can do to really help us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Liking and sharing have way more weight on the digital end than subscribing does. So make sure you just take all those actions. That really helps us to overcome some of that stuff and reach a new audience, to share the good, the true, and the beautiful, to plant seeds in the hearts, to inform and to inspire. It's our mission here at the Catholic Drive Time. So we're very grateful to you for being a part of that mission. Now, in the next hour, if you're able to join us, and you can stream us live, by the way, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just search for GRN online. But also, we're live on our mobile app. If you don't have the Station of the Cross mobile app or the GRN mobile app, please download those today. It also makes a huge difference. But we're giving out prizes in the next hour during our Catholic Trivia Game Show. Today is the day. Every Friday, we pull a name out of the coffee cup of divine providence, and we have 3 last opportunities to get in on that action. Be a part of the next hour, and you'll find out how that works, plus all the other good stuff of Catholic Drive Time is coming up. God love you. God bless you. We'll see you on Monday, 6 a.m. Central.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to Facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's Facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.